Yeah.
Yes, it is shared.
Okay, fine. So as we started discussing about the table yesterday, let me go back to that. This was a table. So when I talk about the table, so table will have the name and then followed by column names. And now the data inside, we will have to inform the when we are writing the syntax itself, we'll have to say that what type of data should be there in the columns, correct? And we started looking at the types of data yesterday, correct? The data types. So I'm going back here. I think this is where I have stopped and asked you guys a question about the difference between char and varchar.
Yes, madam.
Yes. So can you guys tell me the difference between char and varchar? What all do you see here? What is difference between char and varchar?
Even though the column length of the characters will be from 0 to 25, but the default will get as 1.
That is for?
Char.
Next.
For varchar, the column length will be from 0 to 65535. We'll get the maximum column length is from minimum is 0 and maximum is 65535. We'll get as like any number. It's not as default.
That's about the length of data. Any other difference?
So varchar is nothing but we can it accepts the alphanumeric and the character accepts only the alphabets.
Can you repeat that, please? Can you repeat that?
Oh, sorry, sure.
Mm-hmm.
So character accepts only the alphabets as a size as a data type, and varchar accepts like alphanumeric.
Can you read this and tell me, please? Will it accept only characters?
No, sorry, yeah, no.
That's why I put it in front of you here for reference, right?
Ma'am, record the class.
It is recorded. Any other difference? Any other difference? Fine. So first main important difference is, yes, as we discussed, the length of the data. So the length of the data, what do you mean by length? For example, we have a name called Harsha Technologies. Okay. So the length of this word is HARSHA is 6 letters. TECHNOLOGIES is 12 characters. 12 plus 6,
18.
18. 18 plus 1 space is 19.
Yes.
That's what is called the length of a string. So number of characters, special character is also considered as 1. You understand? Special character is also considered as 1 character. So that way if you go with, char will accept 0 to 255. And when you're writing the syntax, suppose if you don't mention the data type length, if you'll not mention, by default it will accept the length of 1. For varchar, it can be from 0 to 65,535. When you're writing the syntax, mentioning the length of it is very, very important. The length of it should definitely be mentioned. And the similarities is both of them can contain numbers, letters, and special characters. Both of them accepts number, characters, and numbers, letters, and special characters. And do you see some difference here? Fixed length string, variable length string. Okay, so what is this fixed length string and variable length string? So for example, you gave a length of char 5. For varchar, you gave a length of 5. Okay, it's and your name what you're writing is Ram. Now this has how many characters?
Three.
But it is considered as 5 because char is fixed length. Either you utilize it or you don't utilize it, it considers as a whole, all 5. But varchar, this is considered as 3 because it's variable. Got it? Fixed length
Okay.
string, either you utilize it or you don't utilize the length, it will consider as the complete one which you mentioned. But when you don't utilize it, that is better you go with varchar. Okay? So, char is a fixed length string, varchar is a variable length string. And for better, if you want to remember, I can give you one example. The difference between char and varchar. So in char, we have fixed length. That means, for example, you are living in a house for rent. Okay. Now, in this month, for example, in this August month, you were not at home. You went on a vacation for 20 days. So you will pay the bill, you will pay the rent for 10 days or all 30 days of August.
For full month.
30 days.
Sure, for complete August you pay it.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
similar to CAR. Either you utilize it or don't utilize it, it will consider as 5. Even you have 3 characters, these two are also taken together and is 5. Length is 5. Okay. In varchar is like your current electricity bill. So will you pay 3,000 every month for electricity or will you pay only what you utilize?
What we utilize.
So what we utilize, right? So this varchar is similar. You're giving 3 letters, yes, it will take length as 3. Understood?
Yes,
Is this
ma'am.
clear?
Yeah, clear, clear.
Any questions?
Ma'am, I have a small doubt. Like you have come directly to the tables. Like you told that you are creating a table, right? So,
Hmm?
like how you came to this Excel sheet, separately or through the SQL
I separately opened
platform?
Excel.
Okay, fine.
I just opened the Excel separately.
Okay, okay.
Okay? Any questions on this? Care, varchar?
No.
Understood? So whenever you create a table, what all things do we need? You need the column name, table name, column names, and each column should contain what type of data. Okay. Now you know the data types char and varchar. Mostly you can utilize the same char and varchar, but still the most frequently used one for numbers is integers. So it's quite direct. So int is mostly used for numbers, only numbers if you have int, and if you feel like you want to go with char and varchar, yeah, that's also supported. Okay, and you have date and time. I want you guys to go through this in your free time and just have a quick glance or a brief glance on these. Okay. Yes, now let's go back to MySQL and start creating a table. So to create a table, what all do we need? What all do you need?
Table name.
Table name, column names, and the data types for now, right? So let's create a table. Table name is student info. Always remember, don't give spaces in between. Why don't give spaces? Within few 2 or 3 days, you will also understand why I say not to give spaces. Still, if you feel like no, I'll give it, go ahead. You will face the problem later, you will understand. Okay. I don't want to just say don't do it like this, just like that. I want you guys to experience all the errors so that you don't repeat it again. Fine. So my suggestion is don't give any spaces between the column names, table names, and database names. Now I'm creating a table called student info. I'm opening a bracket. So inside the table you will have columns, or outside the table you will have columns?
Inside the table.
Inside the
You
table.
have the columns inside the table, right?
Yes.
So you have the columns inside the table, right? So that's the reason we will open the bracket. Inside the bracket, you have to write the column names. Instead of writing it in the same line, I'm going to the next line. I'm writing it in between here, in between the columns, sorry, in between the brackets. I'm writing each one in one column, sorry, one row, just to give you a better understanding. But you can also write it in the same line. Okay. So what's our first column? First column we have a student ID.
Student ID.
Correct. So data type, I told you either I can give int or I can also go with char, right? Char also accept numbers. So I'll go with char. And if I'll not mention any length, what is the length it will consider?
As a default.
Yeah, what's the default?
One.
Yes, now that is first column, comma. Now my second column is student name. For student name, I'll go with varchar. For varchar, length is compulsory. I'm mentioning 10 as a length for varchar, comma. The next column I have is marks. Marks, I'll go with integer because marks obviously would be only numbers, so I'll go with integer. So what our table has three columns. First one is student ID. In student ID, we have a data type called char. I didn't give the default, I didn't give the any length, so it takes the default, that is one. And then I have student name where it goes with varchar. Next, I have marks with integer data type. Okay. Now you're creating a table, but where do you want to create this table? In which database you want to create this table?
Harsha 2. Harsha 2.
That you know it. How does the data? I want remaining also to be interactive, guys. You cannot be quiet. Please be interactive. Fine. You know that you want to do it in Harsha 2, but did you tell the system anywhere here that you want to do it in Harsha 2? I mean, create the table in Harsha 2?
No.
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 No, right? We didn't mention anywhere, correct?
Mm.
How do we mention it? So we have to tell here, we have to say that create table in Harsha2 dot student info. That means in Harsha2 database, create a table called student info and it should contain a columns called student ID, student name and marks. Now if I execute, on the bottom you see it is successfully executed 74748 right now. This create table Harsha2 dot student info, this query is executed, 0 rows affected. So obviously rows will not be created for this, and this is the duration it has taken, and green tick specifies it's successful. Okay,
Yeah, okay.
Yes, madam.
so this is how you create a table. Now on the left I don't see the table, so if you want to see the updated things, what do you have to do?
Refresh the.
Correct, you have to refresh. So to refresh I have to go here on the top beside the schemas word. If I refresh, see I have a table, student info. Now if I click on the table name here, you see it is telling char is taken as length 1, varchar is 10, marks is int. How to display the table? To display the table, from here you have to write select statements. If anything you want to display, the output you want to see, you need select statement. How to write a select statement here? For that, for now just go with normal, just star for now. Later I'll teach you guys different select statements. First I'll go with only star. Select star from, so star in the sense everything, all rows and columns. Star specifies all rows and columns. Clear? Star specifies all rows and
Well,
columns.
columns.
Okay, so I wrote here select star. So when I write select star, it will display all the rows and columns. From which table?
Student info.
From student info table. But student info table from which database? Same
Harsha
table
2.
might also be there in other databases. So that's why we have to mention
Harsha
Harsha2
2.
dot student info. Now if I do control enter is a shortcut to execute. I can just put my cursor anywhere here on this line, do control enter, that works. Or you can also select it and go with the flash symbol. Either of the way it works. Okay, so when I execute, do you see? You can see the table, but we don't have the data inside. We are just able to see the table. Correct? Any questions until here?
No.
Sure, no questions? No questions, right? Fine. So now coming back, okay, now I know how to create a database. I know how to create a table, how to display the table. Now let's insert the data into the table. So to insert the data into the table, I'll tell you different insert statements. You can use it in different scenarios. So first, the basic one, the standard one is insert into table name. What is my table name? Student info. But from which database student info? Harsha2. If you don't feel like writing it always Harsha 2, Harsha 2, and you're constantly working on the same database, you can just go here to the name of the database Harsha 2, right click and set as default. So if you set it as default, you just have to go to the database name, right click and select set as default schema. If you select that as set as default schema, once you select that, if you clearly mention select default schema, then you need not write the table database name. You can directly write the table name. Okay, I can directly write insert into, what is my table? Student info. It automatically considers Harsha 2 database now. So I want to insert into student info. In this student info, what are the columns I have? First one is student ID, comma, student name, comma, marks. These are the columns. And my values I want to insert into, I have to write it in this. Student ID, I want to give 1. And student name, let me give Devi, comma, marks, let me give 100. Always remember, other than numbers, any data you're mentioning, other than numbers, you have to put it in inverted comma. Other than numbers, anything you're writing, you have to put it in inverted comma. Okay, anything you're writing other than numbers, we have to insert it in inverted comma. Is this clear?
Yes.
Yes.
No questions? No questions, right?
Yes.
Fine. So when you're mentioning this, now if I execute it, okay, if I quickly execute this, if I do control enter, see in the on the bottom, it is successfully executed. Always you can make sure if it is executed or no by looking at the bottom in the output window. Okay, so here I just executed. It is green tick, so it is successfully executed. Fine. Now how to display the table? Okay, I inserted the row. If I want to see this data, how to execute the table or display the table? I have to go with
Select
select
from
star from,
Harsha to
right? So now
select
if I
from
do
Harsha
control
to.
enter, I can go to the same line, select start from Harsha 2 dot student info. If I execute, see, row is inserted. So you have
Yes.
to write insert into table name and then tell what are the columns and what are the values. And when you're writing the values, always remember, other than numbers, anything you're writing, you have to put it in inverted commas. Okay. And the next one you have is, now I want to do insert into student info. If you're giving values for all 3 columns, here did I give values for all 3 columns? Yes, right?
Yes.
If you're inserting values for all 3 columns, you can directly write values and insert the data. So my second one is 2 and the name I'll give is Sean, comma, for example, 98. If you're giving values for all 3 columns of a table, then writing a column names is not required. Now if I execute this and display the table, select star from, you see here, the second row is inserted. When you can ignore writing the column names? When you're giving values for all 3 columns. Understood? Any questions?
Ma'am, if we want to make 4 to 5 rows at a time, how we have to do?
Can you wait for a minute? I still didn't finish the types of insert into. I'm asking only doubt about this one. I still didn't complete multiple insert intos. Okay,
Okay.
fine. Until here is, do you have any questions? So if you want to write values for all three columns, you need not mention the column names. Suppose if you want to write the value for only that particular column, for that what you have to do is you have to write
Ma'am,
insert
mentioning the
into
columns,
student info. Yes.
mentioning the columns makes any difference?
Let me finish this, then you understand the difference. So now I want to insert data only in student ID and student name. I don't want to mention the data in marks column. In that situation, I have to write the column names. Now my record I want to insert is 3, comma. I want to give it for Harsha. So now this will insert the data only for student ID and student name. Now if I execute, yes, display the table, select star from. See, it will display the data only for 3 and Harsha. The other one I didn't mention here, so it's null. But if you are writing this same thing, insert into student info, you're writing the same thing, not mentioning the column names and giving values only for a particular one. For example, 4, comma, I'll give Satya. Okay. Now see, I didn't mention the column names. I'm giving values only for 2. Now it gives an error stating column count doesn't match value count. If you don't mention, if you mention a column name, it will know, okay, for these columns, these values you are giving. If you'll not mention, it will consider all the columns in a table and expects values for all the columns in a table. So here we have 3 columns, but you're giving only 2 values. That's the reason we have an error. Column count doesn't match. But if you want to give the data only for any particular column, you have to mention the column names here. For which all columns you are giving the value. Suppose you are giving for student ID, comma student name, you have to mention it. Now if I execute, see it is successful. Now if I execute the table, this is how it is. So the standard way of writing insert into is with the column names and the values. And if you are giving values for all the columns, you can ignore writing the column names and give values directly. But for a particular column you are mentioning any values, then you have to write like this. Now if you want to insert multiple values, I have to go with insert into student info. I want to give values for all the columns, so I'll write values directly. Here I have a value called 5. Then I have Eric. Then I have 89, comma. Here I have 6. I have Kush. And then I have some random marks. Now again I have another set of records, ID 7. And for example, I have Shavya and marks. This way, if I want to give multiple records, if I do Control Enter, now if I display the table, it will give the records for multiples at the same time. So these are the multiple ways of executing insert into. One is where you want to give records for all the columns. Second one is you want to give the records only for a particular columns. And the third one is you want to give the data for multiple rows. Is this clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Fine. Now I'll write a statement next in another insert into. Just tell me if it will get executed or no. Use common sense, check very carefully and let me know. Okay, and I have the values. I have 21 as uh, the role, the student ID. Then I have Shweta as a name, comma, I have some marks. Will this be executed?
No,
Why?
because the student ID that we have specified is character. Here we have 2 digits.
So we have specified character will not allow 2 digits.
Because there we have not specified the size there, which
Correct. We didn't
the
mention the length, so it will take a length of,
default of 1.
yes, it will take default 1. So when it takes default 1, what does that mean? Suppose I have a name called Devi, Devi. The length is 4. Now here if I take 2, 1, the length is 2. But what's the default length we have?
1.
Default length we have is 1. And here we have a default length as
2.
2. That's the reason if I execute, this will not work. It will end up in giving an error. It gave an error telling data too long for column student ID. Now how can I change it?
Maybe altering the table.
Yes. So already if you have created a table, you cannot go here and change. That's not the right way. Already if table is created, then if you want to do any changes, we have a command called alter. So I have to go with alter table. What is the table I want to alter now? It is student info.
Info.
And in this alter, what is the alter I want to do? Modify the column. I want to alter the table called student info. In this student info table, I want to modify column. Okay, which column do I want to modify? Only
Student ID.
student ID, right? What modification I want to do? I want to give char length to, let's give 4. Until 4-digit number it will accept. If I put a semicolon, you see on the left the data type, the length for char is 1 now. Correct. Now if I execute this, successfully executed. Now on the left I have to refresh. Did the length change to 4? Yes. Did the length change to 4?
Yes.
Now if I execute the line 21, will it get executed?
Yeah.
Because it can accept the length until 4. 21, the length is 2. Right. Now if I do control enter, yes, it is executed successfully. And if I execute select start from, it will display the data. So this is how, already if you have created a table and you want to do any modification in the data types, lengths or anything, you have to go with modify column. And you have another alter commands as well along with this. You also have alter table, student info. I want to add column. What is the column I want to add? Let me add a column called phone number and give internet. Now if I execute, successfully executed. Now if I display the table, to display the table always you have to go with select star from, right? Now you see new column is added. How to fill the null values, that is next part. Later we'll check. Understood how to do add a column? And if you want to drop a column, every time you're adding a column, you have to mention the column name and the data type. If you want to drop a column, I have alter table, student info, drop column, and the column we have is phone number. You need not mention any data type, nothing whenever you want to drop it. Now if I execute and do select star from, see the column is removed. This is how you can add a column and you can drop a column. You also have another one called rename column. So I can do alter table, student info, rename column, and the column name which I want to rename is marks to grade. I want to rename this marks column to grade. Now if I execute, okay, I wrote a spelling mistake. It is 2DENT, student info. Now if I execute, successfully executed. Now if I display select start from table, you see the column name changed to grade. It's not marks anymore, it's grade. Now if I want to change back, I can write grade here and marks here. Now if I execute, this changed. If I do select start from, it is reverted back to marks again. So these are the different alter commands we have. Modify column will modify, you can do the modifications on the data types and length. And adding a column, you can add a new column to the existing table. Drop column, you can drop a column from the existing table. And rename column, you can do a rename for the table which you already have. Okay. So these are the alter commands to do the changes in the table. So as we are still in the demo sessions, with this I'll stop. Let me not go too much because few people are very new to the subject. Okay. So tomorrow I'll be continuing from here. Now you know alter tables. Tomorrow I'll be teaching. So if you want to write a content like this, see, you can do double hyphen space and write like this. Okay. Tomorrow I'll be teaching you guys update, delete, drop, truncate, and followed by constraints. All six constraints. All six constraints includes unique, not null, default, check, primary key, and foreign key. This will be the topics in the next class. So with this, I'll stop for today. I hope you understood. Let me not hurry so much. I want to go slow little so that people who are is very new to the subject also can cope up and cover up. So that's about it for today, guys. Any questions, you can feel free to ask me your questions. If no questions, you can feel free to leave. Thanks for joining. Have a wonderful day and see you all back tomorrow. Any questions,
Ma'am,
feel free to shoot out.
ma'am,
Yes.
in drop column we didn't mention phone number. Only you mentioned phone number. Does we don't need to mention int or character something anything?
That's what I said. When you created a table, when you create a column, you need to say what all things are required. When you're dropping it, not required. Just mention the column name.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yes, ma'am. So, like, I have a basic idea about SQL. There
Mm-hmm.
are some sort of differences with SQL versus MySQL. So, can you please highlight those points as well?
There's
While
no difference between SQL and MySQL. SQL is a language, MySQL is a database.
because, like, here we are using the semicolon at the end of every command or the this thing. But in
Yes.
the SSMS, we don't use.
Because you select and execute in SSMS.
So, it will be helpful for me, like,
Remember
when
that
you.
you
Yeah.
select and execute in SSMS?
No, we don't do that.
No, you do it. Without selecting a query, will you execute?
Acha, yeah, understood. Yeah, correct, correct. We do that.
You select and execute, right?
Correct,
Here, if
correct.
you use a semicolon, you need not select. Put your cursor anywhere on the line.
Okay, okay. So
So
that's
to
what
say
like.
that this is the end of the query, we use semicolon. There also you can use.
Okay, I never used it. Okay, fine. Okay, thanks.
You can use it, will support, but the only thing why people don't go there with using is, anyways you have to select and execute. You whatever length you select, that will be executed. So that's why people don't go doing it here.
Yeah.
With selecting, if you execute, don't use semicolon, but without selecting, if you want to execute and do quick, put a semicolon.
Okay. So like here, my request is like,
Hmm?
if there are any differences or something, I request you to just highlight those points so that it will be helpful for me
No,
to catch
wherever
it.
it is required, I do it, because for
Yeah,
example you do top and limit. So top is used in SQL Server, limit is used in MySQL. In that
MySQL.
scenarios, I do that.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. If no more questions, shall we wind up? And guys, whoever didn't enroll for the course, please finish the enrollment, because the link is going to change from tomorrow. People only who enrolled only will get access to the link from tomorrow. This is a notification from the admin. And yeah, that's about it for today, guys. See you all back tomorrow. Bye bye. Have a lovely and wonderful day.
Bye, ma'am.
Bye.